Hi there, welcome back to another video from CodeHell. Today I will show you how to create stunning animations using the new GSAP interactions in Webflow. You can see on this website, all these animations that look so fantastic and amazing can be created very easily in Webflow. Especially for the stagger effect on the heading text and this description, every letter and word appears gradually one by one. This is incredible. And even more spectacular, you can see, when I scroll, all the animations truly bring this website to life, making us as users feel directly involved and interacting with every element on the screen. And not only that, when I hover over the color list, the car immediately changes color according to the one I choose. This interaction makes us as users feel truly engaged, as if we are changing the car's color in real life. All of this shows how animations in Webflow not only look beautiful, but also feel interactive. Webflow truly promises animation results that are very smooth, professional, and high performance in a very easy way. All of this opens unlimited space for designers and developers to create without boundaries. And most interestingly, I built all these animations only from Webflow's visual panel. So, recently Webflow released the latest powerful interactions directly powered by GSAP. With full GSAP support behind the scenes, we can build complex animations with results that are very smooth and high-performing. And with an intuitive horizontal timeline, full control over every detail of the transition, and reusable animation, Webflow offers the freedom to create in the fastest and easiest way to produce smooth and professional animations. Okay, let's get started and see how easy it is to create amazing animations in Webflow. Alright, this is the website design that I have prepared beforehand. So, in this video we will only focus on how to make this website truly come alive using the new interactions that are now powered by GSAP in Webflow. Now, if we look at the Interactions panel, Webflow has already added the latest option, which is Interactions with GSAP. And, when we choose the Interactions with GSAP version, on the left panel this lightning icon will appear. All the animations that we create later will automatically be saved and arranged in this panel based on their trigger. Then we can also save certain actions as presets, which will later appear in this Action Presets tab. So, all animations will become more organized and easy to control. Okay, now let's start animating all these elements. Here Webflow provides various animation triggers such as when an element is clicked, on hover, when the page first loads, moving when the page is scrolled, and even with custom events that we can define ourselves. Here, I will start with the page load trigger. After that, we will add an action. Here there are various actions available that we can directly use such as fade, slide, stagger, and so on. But because I want to determine the animation values myself according to the needs, so I will choose the custom action. Alright, this is the settings panel that will appear every time we select an action. In this panel we can adjust all the animation details, starting from choosing the target element, setting the duration and start time, choosing the ease or the motion style of the animation, up to adjusting the animation properties. Then, we can also add repeat, stagger or the way elements appear one by one, and split text for additional effects that are more interesting. So, I think this really gives full control over the animation that we want to create. Okay, first I will animate this car image element. So, in the target section, I will target the element with the class main car image. Besides using a class, we can also use other types of targets according to what we want. Then in the scope section, we can adjust how broadly the elements with this selector will be affected. It can be to all matching elements, or more specifically to parent, children, and so on. So, we also have flexibility to adjust the range of the animation. Alright, now we go to the animated properties section. Here we can determine the initial value and the final value of the animation. From is the initial state, while to is the final state. Then, if we want to add other properties, just click this plus icon. Webflow provides a lot of properties that we can use to animate an element, and Webflow even provides class logic options for more flexible control. Okay, let's continue. Here I will use the opacity and scale properties. And so that the panel looks neater and not confusing, so I can delete MoveX and MoveY because they are not needed. Then I will enable from and disable to because I only want to determine the initial state of the animation. So, the final state automatically takes the value from the original element. Okay, for the initial value of opacity, we can set it to 0%. You can see, now the car is not visible on the canvas. Then for duration, let's say 1 second. Start time, let it start from 0 seconds. And for ease, we choose circle out. If we click play, the car element will appear with a fade in effect, from the initial state of not visible to fully visible. Then, for the initial value of scale, we will also set it to 0, so that the element is hidden by shrinking its size down to 0. Now if we play again, the result looks more dynamic. The element appears with a smooth opacity transition while enlarging to its original size, so that the car looks as if it is speeding toward the screen. Okay, before moving on to the next element, I will rename this action or animation to car zoom in, for example. Alright, next we will animate this description text. We can click this back icon, then we can click the plus icon to add a new action, and choose custom again. But before I continue, you can see at the bottom here, now Webflow presents a new timeline with a horizontal view. With this horizontal timeline, we can clearly and in detail see the animation movement from beginning to end. Then, we can also set the start time or start delay of the animation, and set the duration or how long the animation will run through this timeline. And, if we have a complex animation and surely we'll add a lot of animation blocks, here we can also arrange the order of the animation blocks so that they look more organized and can be controlled easily. So, any animations that we want to create can be arranged very easily in Webflow. Just drag and drop according to what we want. And not only that, here Webflow also provides several additional controls for previewing the animation. There is reverse to play the animation from the opposite direction, loop to repeat the animation continuously, and preview speed to speed up or slow down the animation in the preview, so that we can more easily adjust the timing. In addition, we can also adjust zoom in and zoom out in the timeline. Then there is also fit timeline to immediately display all animation blocks in one view. Then there is also jump to start to immediately bring the scrubber to the beginning of the timeline, and jump to end which will jump the scrubber to the end of the timeline. After that, there is show outlines to display the outline on the animation target, so that we can more easily see which elements are being animated. And if we right-click on the animation block, a menu like this will appear, which contains options to change the color of the animation block, duplicate, add a new action, arrange the order of actions based on start time, and others as needed. Alright, I think with this horizontal timeline, Webflow really gives us ease and full control to manage all animations on the website. So we only need to think about ideas and imagination, then realize them directly in Webflow. Okay, now let's continue. Here, I will target the element that has the class description. I will set the animation duration, 1.25 seconds, then the start time, 0.2 seconds so that the animation doesn't run immediately when the page loads. For ease, I choose power to and out. After that, in the properties section, we will only use opacity. And just like before, we will enable from and disable to. For the initial value, I will set it to 0%. So, if we see, now the description text slowly appears from a transparent state until it becomes clear. Okay, not quite enough yet. Next I want to make this text animation more interesting, so I will make each word appear gradually one by one using stagger and split text. This combination is one of my favorite features of the new Webflow interactions. First, for stagger, we can click this drop-down. Here we have total time and offset time. If we choose total time, Webflow will set the delay between elements so that all animated elements are finished within the duration that we set. While offset time, we are the ones who determine the delay between elements, so the total duration can be longer depending on the number of elements. So just choose which one is most suitable with the rhythm of animation that we want. Okay, here I will choose total time, and I will set the value, let's say 0.2 seconds. Then here there is also a from option, which is used to determine the starting point of the animation, can be start, center, edges, and so on. Here I will choose start, so the animation begins from the first element then continues to the others. Then, for ease in the stagger section, it is used to set how the movement between elements behaves when appearing alternately. Then there is also grid, which lets the animation follow the pattern of elements arranged in rows or columns. For example, if we have an image gallery or any layout in a grid, this feature can be used to animate it. Next, here I will check split text so that the text is no longer considered as one block, but can be animated one by one. And now we have the split by option, which is used to determine how the text is divided, whether by line, by word, or by letter. Here, I will choose by word. Then below it there is mask. This is used to give a clipping effect when the text element is animated. But here I will leave it as none, so that the text appears freely without clipping. And now if we see the result, each word appears with a fade in effect alternately from beginning to end. Then I will also rename this action to Description Fade in Stagger. Alright, next for the button. I will add a new action through this timeline. So we can right-click, then choose Add Action. Or, we can also directly double-click from here to add a new action. Okay, now the target is the element with the class button. I set the duration to 1.25 seconds, start at 0.6 seconds, and ease, I also choose power to and out. For the property, I will also only use opacity. Then, set the from value to 0% again. If we play, the button appears from transparent to clearly visible with a smooth motion. And now our website starts to look more interesting than before. Also give a name to this action. Alright, next we will animate these two heading elements. And what you need to know here is actually we have three layers: solid heading text at the back, car in the middle, and outline heading text at the very front. With this setup, the heading text looks as if it has holes when it overlaps the car, with only the outline reinforcing the letter shapes. This is simply a visual illusion created by making use of the layer order. Okay, let's animate these two headings. Again, double-click here to add a new action. First, I will target the element with the class heading solid. In the duration section, I fill in 1.25 seconds, then start I set to 1.2 seconds. For ease, I choose Expo Out. Continue to Animated Properties, delete all these properties, then add the Y% property. Here I set the initial value to 100% so that the element moves from the bottom to the normal position. In the stagger section, now I choose offset time with a value of 0.025 seconds, and from I change to center, so that the animation appears from the middle to the sides. After that I will also enable split text, I split it by letter, and I also set mask to letter. So each letter will be animated with clipping in its own area, or in other words the animation is limited within the letter area. Alright, then you need to know, Webflow also allows us to save action settings that have been created as presets. That way, this action can be reused whenever needed. Now I will show you how to save it and use it again. The way is quite simple. We just click the bookmark icon that says Save as Preset, then give a name for this action, stagger from bottom for example, and if you want to add additional notes, you can write them in this description field. Then click Save. After it is saved, we can check in the Action Presets tab. Now the action we just saved is available and ready to be reused anytime we want. And if it needs to be changed, we just click it and adjust as needed. Okay, then to reuse this action, we can go back here and select the stagger from bottom action from down here. Alright, now I will use this action for the heading outline element. So, here I just need to add the target to the heading outline element. Then set the start time to 1.2 seconds so it matches the heading solid element. And rename it to Heading Outline Slide in UpStagger. Then for the previous action, I rename it to Heading Solid Slide in UpStagger so that the naming of each animation becomes clearer and more organized. Okay, let's see the result. Now it looks like the heading text appears from the bottom, and each letter moves in sequence from the center to the sides with a very smooth effect until forming the whole word. And maybe I will also change the color of this animation to purple so it matches the heading solid. Alright, lastly for the navbar element. Let's just duplicate this action and change its color to pink so it looks different from the action color on the heading. Now I target it to the element with the class navbar. For the duration and start time, I leave them the same as the heading. Ease, I choose power to out. Then, For the Y% property, I change its value from -100% to 0 so that the navbar slides down from the top to its original position. After that, we can reset or disable stagger because we will not use it, and uncheck split text. And again, rename the action. Now we can see the navbar moves from the top of the screen down to occupy its original position. And now, if we look at the final result as a whole for this page load trigger, all elements appear with very smooth animation thanks to the GSAP engine working behind the scenes. The website looks much more attractive, interactive, and feels more alive. Alright, next let's add scroll interactions. And, before adding scroll animation, make sure our website page has sufficient height so that the animation can run correctly. You are free to set the page height according to your needs. Okay, let's continue. In this scroll settings section, I will target page because I want the animation to run following the entire page from the beginning to the end of the scroll. The start value of 0% means the animation starts right when we start scrolling from the top, while the end value of 100% means the animation ends when we have reached the bottom of the page. And both of these values can also be adjusted according to our needs. Then below it, you will see controls. If we choose Scrub on Scroll, then the animation will follow the scroll movement in real time. Whereas trigger actions, the animation no longer follows the scroll, but is only triggered in certain states such as when the element enters or leaves the screen. And here, we are free to determine the behavior of the animation when the element enters or leaves the screen, so we can adjust it to the needs or the scroll scenario that we want. But in this case, I will use Scrub on Scroll. Then there is also the smooth option. Its function is to set how quickly the animation follows the scroll movement. If the value is lower, the animation sticks directly to the scroll. If it is higher, the animation feels slightly delayed, making it smoother. Alright, now let's add the first action for this scroll interaction. Here, I will target these two headings. First, I will target the element with the class heading solid. For the duration, I will set it to 0.8 seconds, and for the start I set it at 0 so the animation is triggered immediately when the page starts to scroll. Then for ease, I choose Power to and out. Then in the Properties section, let's delete these three properties, and we will only use Move Y. And here, I will not use an initial value, so I only need to set the final value. I will set it to -100 VH or viewport height. So this heading text will move upward as the page is scrolled. Next, in the stagger section, I choose total time with a value of 0.5 seconds. After that, I will change the From option to center so that the letters move out sequentially starting from the middle. After that, we can enable split text again. For the split by option, I choose letter so that the animation runs letter by letter, and for the mask, I leave it as none. Finally, let's rename this action. Alright, next let's duplicate it, and now for this action we will target the heading outline element. Then, leave all the values the same as heading solid. And don't forget to rename it so it looks clearer and more organized. Now let's see the result. As we scroll, the heading text moves upward off the screen with a smooth transition. And because we are using stagger and split text, each letter of the heading moves one by one, starting from the center and spreading to both sides, making this scroll effect look much more dynamic. Next, we can add another action here because we will target both of these heading elements for a different behavior. First, target for the heading solid element. Then, for heading outline. For the start time, here I will drag it right after both heading animations finish. Then for the properties, we will only use display and set the final value to none. And finally, for the duration, since we are using the display property, any duration value will not affect the transition of the element, because by default browsers don't support animation for display. But since I only want to clarify the behavior of this action and also make sure there is no transition, I will set the value to 0. So actually, the purpose of adding this action is to completely remove both headings from the page layout after they are animated, so they don't block or interfere with the interaction of other elements that I will display later. Alright, next for the description text. We can add another action, and I want this action to also start together with the heading action. Then set the target to the description element, duration, maybe 0.3 seconds, and ease, power 4 out. Then in the animated properties, I will only use opacity and Y%. For opacity, I will set it from 100% to 0% so the text fades out, and for Y% from 0 to 100% so it moves downward. After that, I will also add stagger, total time, maybe 0.8 seconds, and I choose from edges so the animation starts from the left and right sides then meets in the middle. And again, I will use split text, and now I will choose split by word so the animation is applied to each word. For mask, I set it to words so each word has its own movement area. And now, when we scroll, the description text fades out while moving downward to hide. And because we enabled split text by word with stagger from edges, each word hides one by one from both sides toward the center, making the result much more interesting compared to the text disappearing all at once. I think stagger and split text are very powerful features, and you must try them directly in Webflow. Okay, now let's rename this action. And next, we will also remove the description element from the page layout after it is animated, just like the heading. First, move this action down here. Now we just need to add a new target in this action, which is the description element. And automatically the description element will also use all the settings in this action. Okay, now let's give this action a name. Alright, next for this button element. We can add another action here. I change its color to blue, then target the element with the class button. I set the duration to 0.3 seconds, the start time, 1 second, and for ease, power 2 out. After that, I will use opacity and Y%. And just like before, only set the final values, 0% for opacity and 100% for Y%. Now if we look, the button fades out and moves downward, so it looks like it sinks off the screen. Let's rename this action. Okay, now we will animate this car image. Add a new action here, change its color, and target the element with the class main car image. I set the duration to 1.3 seconds so the animation feels longer. I set the start to 0.3 seconds, and for ease I choose power 2 and out. For the properties, let's use Y% and scale. For Y% I set it to 12% so the car shifts slightly downward, and for scale I set it to 1 so the car returns to its original size, because when I placed it on the canvas, I reduced the car size a little so it would look fitting and blend with the overall design. And now when we scroll, the car moves slightly downward while enlarging back to its original size, making the car look as if it is moving forward toward the screen. And now let's rename this action. Next, we will add a different animation for this car. So, we can duplicate this action. For the start time we can set it to 1.3 seconds, then keep the target pointing to main car image and duration, change to 1 second. Then, delete these two properties, after that add X%. For the final value, we set it to -80%, so the car will move to the left. And finally, let's rename this action to car slide left for example. Okay, now let's see the final result in preview mode. First, the car slowly moves forward toward the screen. Then as the scroll continues, the car smoothly moves to the left. The new interactions in Webflow really make the animation feel more alive and truly bring all the elements and products on our website to life. Alright, next we will display the list of colors on the right when the car is moving to the left. Temporarily, we can close this scroll interaction. Here I have already prepared the color list design beforehand. At first, I hid this element with display none so it would not interfere with the previous explanation. So now I will go to the Style panel and change the display from none to flex so that the color list becomes visible again on the canvas and is ready for us to animate. Okay, now let's go back to the scroll interaction. First, we will animate this color title element. So, let's add a new action here. For the target, we point it to the color title element. The animation duration, I leave it at 0.25 seconds, the start time I set to 1.55 seconds, and for ease, I choose back and out. After that, in the animated properties section, we can delete these three properties, then add the X% and SKUX properties. And now we will only use the initial value, so disable the final value. For opacity, we can set it from 0% for X%, minus 50% so the element appears from the left side, and lastly for SkewX, minus 45 degrees so the text looks slightly tilted when entering, then goes back straight when at its original position. If we look at the result, the text slides in from the left, at first slightly tilted and faded, then gradually becomes clear and straight again in its position. Okay, now rename this action. Next, we can duplicate this action, then change its color. Now we will target the element with the class colorDetail. This colorDetail element is actually the wrapper for each color name, and what appears on the screen is only its bottom border. So basically, here we will animate all these bottom borders or underlines. Okay, let's continue. For the duration and ease, I leave them the same, but for the start time, I will change it to 1.65 seconds. Then for the properties, I will only use opacity and X%. For opacity, let it still start from 0, then for X% here I will change it to minus 100%. After that, I will add stagger with a total time of 0.3 seconds. So each underline doesn't appear at the same time, but instead alternates one by one. And in the From section, I leave it at start, meaning the animation will start from the first element at the top, then continue sequentially to the elements below. And now we can see, the underline of each color name seems to slide in from the left alternately, starting from the top to the bottom. This stagger effect truly gives a rhythm that makes the animation feel more lively and pleasant to look at. Okay, now rename this action. Alright, next we will also animate these color name elements. So, duplicate this action, then change its color. We will target the element that has the class color name. Then change the start time to 1.75 seconds. For the properties, delete this X% and add the MoveX and SkewX properties. For opacity, let it start from 0. MoveX, we can set it to minus 100 pixels, and for SkewX, minus 45 degrees. Then for the stagger section, I leave it at this setting. If we look at the result, each color name appears alternately from the left, at first slightly tilted and transparent, then gradually becomes clear and straight again in its original position. This tilted text effect symbolizes speed which matches the product of this website. And if we look at it overall, the animation of the color list that appears alternately to the right seems to create a wind-blowing effect, as if it is generated from the car moving to the left. And as usual, also rename this action. Alright, before we add the hover interaction, here I have already prepared an overlay element with a transparent background. Its function is to cover the color list, so that before the scroll actually reaches the very bottom, we cannot hover over the color list because it is still covered by the overlay. Then, when the scroll reaches the very bottom, we will remove this overlay so that the color list can be hovered and will change the car color. Okay, now let's add a new action for this overlay element. So, we just duplicate the action from this heading description, then move it to the very bottom position. And for the start time, maybe I will place it here, so the action runs exactly at the same time as the animation on the color list finishes. Then here, we will only target the element with the class color overlay. And for the value I will leave it as it is. Lastly, I will also change its name to color overlay display none. So, when the scroll reaches this endpoint, the overlay element will be removed from the page layout. Alright, next we will add a hover interaction. In this hover settings panel, we can set how the animation runs when the element is hovered. Determining the target element, choosing whether the animation starts when the cursor enters or leaves, then through the trigger and control settings we can define how the animation runs each time the interaction occurs. Here there are also additional options such as adding a delay before the animation runs and adjusting the overall speed of the animation. So, all these settings provide full flexibility to configure the animation according to our needs. Okay, first we will use the mouse enter type, and for the other settings leave them as they are. Then for the target, we will target the element with the class color item. This element is the wrapper of the color detail that contains details for each color, including the name and hover line. In addition, this element also wraps the car image for each color variation. Okay, next we can add one more hover trigger. Now for mouse leave, and we will also still target the same element as on mouse enter. Then in the control option, now I will choose reverse so the animation is played back in reverse when the cursor leaves the element. Alright, let's add the first action to this hover interaction. Set the start time at 0 seconds. Then here let it remain as same as trigger so that the context is the color item element that we previously set in the hover settings. Then in the scope option, I choose descendants so that we can target descendant elements inside the wrapper, not only the direct children. And here we will target the element with the class color name. Make sure it begins with a dot before the class name because here we are targeting via class. Okay, for the duration, I set it to 0.3 seconds, and for ease, I choose sign in out. After that in the animated properties section, we will only use opacity. Then, set the final value to 0% so that the color name text fades and disappears when hovered. After that, I will change the name for this action. Alright, next we can duplicate this action, then for the target, still use descendants, but this time I will target the element with the class color name hover. This element is the colored text that is written exactly the same as the list of default color names that appear in white. So later when hovered, the color name hover element will appear as a replacement for this default white text. Okay. Next here I only need to change the final value of opacity to 100% so that the colored text can appear replacing the white text. And before seeing the result, let's change the name of this action. Alright, let's see the result in preview mode. Now if we try hovering, the default white text disappears, then the colored text appears according to the chosen color. Okay, next we will add a line animation that appears on the right side of each color name text. And again, duplicate this action, then change its color to blue. Now we will target the element that has the class color line hover. Then, change the property to width, and set the value to 100% so that the line appears and expands fully on the right side of each color name text. And finally, change the name of this action. Okay, now we can see, once we hover, the line appears on the right side of the text while extending until fully stretched, making this color list look more lively and interactive when hovered. And each line also has a color that matches each color name, because I already set it previously on the canvas. Alright, so that our website looks even more attractive, next we will change the main car color according to the color that we hover on this list. Now let's just duplicate the action from this color name, then move its position to the very bottom and change its color. And for the target, now I change it to the element with the class color car image. For ease, I change it to none. None here is the same as linear, so the motion pattern is straight and constant without acceleration or deceleration. Then for the property, I will also use opacity with the final value 100% so that each car image appears when we hover on the color list, making it look like the car changes color. Lastly, as usual, I will change the name of this action. Okay. Before we see the result, here I will also hide the main car. So later when the car from the color list appears, the main car will disappear from view. And because I want to add a hover trigger to another element, which is the parent of all color item elements, namely color list, then here I will add a new hover interaction. First, for mouse enter we target the color list element. Then for mouse leave it is the same, we target the color list. After that, change the control to reverse, just like we did before. Now I will add a new action here, and drag it to 0 seconds for the start time. Then for the target, here I will target the element with the class main car image. After that, for the duration I can set it to 0.3 seconds. And ease, I will also set it to none. For the property, I set the final value of its opacity to 0% so that the main car is hidden when we hover on the color list. And finally, I change the name of the action. And okay, let's see the final result. Now when we hover on the color list, the main car is immediately hidden and replaced by the car with the corresponding selected color, making it look as if the car changes color in real life and creating the illusion of a lively color change on the screen. Alright, now if we look directly in the browser, here is the final result. A fully animated sports car website built with the latest interactions in Webflow. Powered by GSAP, all the animations feel incredibly smooth, lightweight, and stunning. Webflow provides convenience for designers and developers to create and develop high-quality websites with modern, sophisticated, and high-performance animations. So, if you are a designer, developer, or anyone who wants to create a website that truly stands out, Webflow has everything you need to realize your visual ideas and take them to the next level. And, rather than just wondering, you can go ahead and explore the new GSAP-powered interactions in Webflow right away through the link in the description of this video. Alright, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and see you in the next video.